Welcome back to the Backyard Basketball Podcast,
Liquid smoke.
presented by the Ordinary Podcasting Network. We are following through on our promised podcast today, recapping the NBA draft that just went last night. Some surprises we're going to get talking about, and some exciting new core talent and some of the NBA teams. So let's get going. Chris, how surprised were you with Paolo Banchero's first overall pick?
I was surprised.
So the Orlando Magic took Paolo after seeming to have selected Jabari Smith Jr. for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But this was your guy. This was the guy that you thought was going to win. Was the best in the draft.
I do. Yeah, I still think he's, perennially number one in this year's draft. I mean, there was a lot of conversation that he was going to go to Houston at number 3, and Magic was going to pick Jabari, and that was all the stuff that we were seeing online and all the conversations that were being had. And do you know why? They had it going that way, Jabari first, and in your eyes, how did you see? Or what did you think of that when you saw that up until what happened?
I was surprised, Paolo, too, only because there was so much conversation and talk about Jabari Smith Jr. I think he would have made the Magic a good, bold team. I think that there was just some sort of and maybe this had to do with the interviews, the private interviews that they've had and even the workouts. But I think the Magic saw that this is he's not only a superstar, he's going to be a revolutionary kind of generational kind of a player. And Orlando hasn't had that since Dwight Howard. And before that, Shaq for a few years. So I think that they've got a young, good core. I don't think that Paolo is going to push them over the edge to get into the playoffs next year.
No.
And I'd say that probably for the top 5 in this lottery here, the Magic, the Thunder, Rockets, Kings, and Pistons, they'll all probably kind of be around this spot again next year. But they've got a really, really great opportunity moving forward with the players that they chose. I think the Magic really just saw that Paolo, is going to be a franchise guy, and they trusted that. They went with it. Number 2 overall, Chet Holmgren, the unicorn, going second.
What? Wait. Before we get to Chet, which was incredible, one thing I definitely want to say was, I think the other thing too, the more that I'm thinking about this with Jabari, is the draft that the pick they got last year in Franz Wagner, right? I think him and Jabari kind of played a little bit of the same type of role, especially on the offensive end. So if you're doubling down on that kind of thing, and Franz has been incredible for the Magic this last year. Really good. So I think, Paolo adds a bit of diversity in that. But the one other thing I want to say about Paolo too, which, he kind of reminds me shades of, not necessarily in how he plays, but the type of player that he is coming into the NBA.
Yep.
Is Jason Tatum.
Oh.
Because he has already had all the skill sets to really excel on the offensive end, with the scoring and everything. And I thought that transitioned really seamlessly to playing. Now, mind you, he wasn't great in the finals recently, being effective on the offensive end of the ball. Tatum.
Still got to the finals.
Well, he got to the finals, but in those final games, game 6, when he looked dead in the face, he was kind of scared of the big moments and wasn't doing what he usually does on the offensive end. But I think Paolo, he's going to be really good, and he's a good decision maker too. I was seeing some highlights of him in college where he would take the ball into the paint. The situation, after the first drive, wouldn't be necessarily successful. So he was really patient with the ball. He brought the ball out of the paint again. He looked for the right read, the right kind of movement, made a good pass to the corner, and got a wide open shot. I think that type of inherent skill is something that sets Paolo specifically above and beyond all these other players in the draft.
That's awesome. So kudos, because the Magic struck gold here. That said, though, Paolo, Chet, and Jabari in any year could be a number one.
Number one, 100%.
So,
100%.
I think OKC taking Chet second, that they had their mind made up. Even
Forever.
after Jabari became available, not going number one. And Paolo, potentially going 3. Chet was going to be the Thunder's gut pick. And the Thunder had 1, 2, 3 or 4 picks in the first round. So the fact that they could take a risk here on somebody who's, all the commentary around Chet is like, he hasn't filled out. He could be injury prone. You got to take the risk. He's 7'1".
Yep.
Massive wingspan.
Massive,
can do so many different things on the court. He plays like a
point guard.
He's going to be really fun to see, even if it takes him a couple years to really settle in. So I think the Thunder have got a really great player here in China.
You have like a 7-foot+ guy coming into the NBA saying that he wants to be a 50, 40, 90 guy.
What does that mean?
So that means you're getting 50% from field goal, 40% from 3-point, 90% from the free throw line.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That's the shit Steph Curry guys. And you got a 7-foot guy that says that he wants to do that.
That would be fun.
And if he can do that, this is definitely, I think, out of all the picks, going to be like the generational type player that changes the game and how it's played, because nobody has seen a guy like this before.
Well, you don't remember the last time they said that?
Oh, who was last?
Zion Williamson.
Oh, poor.
And he's on the other spectrum of this.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Knock on all the wood for Zion.
He doesn't need to fill out. He needs to fill in.
Fill in the foot bone.
Yeah. So hopefully he doesn't fall in the same category as Zion.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not. Okay, number 3, Jabari.
The Rockets.
Smith Jr. This is a good pick. I mean, the Houston Rockets selected Jalen Green last year, 2nd overall.
Yep.
They've got, they moved Christian Wood. They've got still a young core. They've got some things that, they had a very immediate rebuild situation. It was like James Harden's gone, boom, we're rebuilding.
Yep. They yo-yoed pretty aggressively.
They have Şengün. They've got Luka Garza. They've got, Usman Garuba is who I'm thinking of.
Yeah. I think Garza's on the Pistons.
Garza's with the Pistons. So they've got pieces that they can work with, try to figure out how this is going to fly. Jabari's going to be a great player, though, I think, and with the high flying Jalen Green, there's lots that Jabari Smith Jr. is going to be able to do.
They'll really combine. I have a question for you about Jabari. Do you think Jabari could be the best? Because I see Jalen Green potentially, if he really fills out to what he could be, the number 1 guy on the team.
Jabari?
Jalen Green.
Oh, Jalen Green is for sure the franchise guy.
Could you see Jabari being the 2nd best player on a championship winning team?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, it's really funny because you watch their college highlights and you're like, damn, they're really good, and then it's got to convert to the NBA. So
that's
a good handful of them, top 10, pretty likely that it's going to convert. But then there's always the Greg Odens or the Anthony Bennett's that just it just doesn't work, and that's okay. We're going to talk about one of those guys that we don't really know anything about yet. And Shaedon Sharpe a little bit later here. Let's get to...
Wait, I wanted to say one last thing about Jabari.
Okay.
So this was something that I heard recently. It was in a podcast. And I got to share it because I thought it was a really cool story. So, and they said about this in the draft last night. So Jabari Smith's dad...
Yeah, senior.
He was drafted by the Kings back in, I don't know, it was like the mid-90s or something like that.
All right.
So he had if you look at Jabari Smith Sr. on stats or whatnot under Google, he had a really rough career. He was bounced around to multiple teams. When you were talking about that transitioning from college into the NBA, I think in college he was, portrayed as a really good player, could have a lot of potential in the NBA, and he just kind of fell short. I think he battled a lot back and forth, I think maybe in the Europe League, I think it was for a bit, and then coming back to America. And in the podcast where this person or whatnot, they ended up interviewing Jabari Smith about this, is they said that his dad, like, there was a lot of resentment that built up in him. Like, he dealt with quite a few years of serious depression.
Okay.
And so when Jabari said in his upbringing when he was younger, and like his dad, I think really struggled so much that he almost like started to like look at the game in a negative way. And I think through that journey that he's had with his father or whatnot, he's gotten like a really, keen perspective. And obviously I think, his father is super excited for his son and, has definitely like probably come a long way in his journey. But it's a cool, I think, perspective to have for any kind of player, to have a father who you've seen firsthand have a really rough go as an NBA career. So you're not taking anything for granted. Yeah. There's a humbleness there. And I'm sure a real drive and work ethic that Jabari may not necessarily hit the ceiling of what you potentially could see him become. Because there's maybe just some things that are out of his hands, with obviously albeit injury and what happens in the NBA. But I think his floor is pretty high because of just some of those experiences he's had.
Yeah, and the nice thing about being picked third after expecting to go first 100%. Is you've got that extra added chip on your shoulder.
Yep.
I think Perk was talking about how I think Perk might have played with his dad at some point or something. They bumped into each other pre-draft, and Perk was like, how are you feeling? Like, are you nervous? And he's like, no. He's going number one. Like the confidence in his dad around him going number one was great. And I mean, it didn't happen, but I think that confidence is still there in this player to be as successful as he can be. So I'm rooting for this guy. I think he's going to have a really solid career with Houston and with any, who knows, maybe he ends up going somewhere else, but Houston's got a good pick here. Houston was not going to miss out on a successful player. I mean, yeah, we're going to get to a couple of them.
Dude, who that maybe would have
missed out on. Sacramento took fourth. Keegan Murray, forward out of Iowa.
Yeah.
He wasn't the guy we thought was going to go here. I don't know what the Kings are doing. I mean, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's a top 5 player. He's going number 4. Jaden Ivey, though, who went next, is the bona fide number 4 here. Is he just too much like what they've got going? I mean, I did understand that Jaden Ivey refused a workout from Sacramento Kings. Yeah. And maybe they were just like, well, this isn't worth our time if we're just going to have to draft a player to trade him because we already did that in Tyrese Halliburton, which was a huge mistake to begin with.
Yep.
But then you think about it and you go, well, why don't bring in Jaden Ivey and replace the guy? Unless he wants to move. So I think that they went with the safe bet here. Somebody who is going to be dominant and can stick it out with the Kings. Nobody wants to go to the Kings, and they've kind of made their own bed with that. It's unfortunate.
Do they have the longest playoff drought?
Yeah, I think they do, yeah. I don't know how many years, but in my lifetime, I don't remember ever seeing the playoffs, let alone being successful in any capacity. So they've got a new coach now, Mike Brown, who is very successful with a young team in Cleveland when LeBron was there. Having just come off a championship run with the Warriors.
Yep.
So there's potential. I'll give them that. There's potential. De'Aaron Fox is still very quick. They've got Sabonis, who still is an all-star.
Buddy Hield isn't there anymore, right? I think, wasn't he traded for Sabonis? Did he go to the Pacers as well, too?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. So they have Buddy Hield. Okay, so that means that the Kings don't have him.
The Kings do not have Buddy Hield, and they've got a young core of. How old is De'Aaron Fox now? He came the same year as Lonzo, right?
Yeah, Lonzo. That's right. Yeah, he was like 4th or 5th, right? And he's on a pretty big contract too, I think, at the moment.
Which is the same year as Tatum.
Yeah, they've got.
He's 24.
Rashawn Holmes still. He might be moving. I guess that's a bit of a redundancy now with Keegan Murray. You can't have Holmes and Sabonis and Murray. I don't.
And Harrison Barnes.
And Harrison Barnes a 3.
Yeah.
And he's been there a long time too. Davion Mitchell, though, that's who they picked last year. Okay, so there's some pieces here, but I do anticipate them being in the lottery again next year.
No, that team looks so disgusting.
Okay, moving on. This is my favorite pick of the draft. Jaden Ivey just his story. I think watching him get drafted. If you haven't seen it, I would absolutely encourage you to go check out on YouTube Jaden Ivey's selection getting drafted. He was just incredibly emotional, and he did not hold back. And I think that there was something really transparent and beautiful about him just expressing that for everyone to see, not to show how emotional he is, but just how much it means to him and how much work went into getting to where he got to. I think Detroit is going to love this guy. He's fast. He can dunk. He's not an incredible shooter yet, but I think that might turn around for him. The other fun thing with Jaden Ivey here, so his mom coaches the Notre Dame basketball team, women's basketball team.
Division I.
But I think it was his dad got drafted for the Pistons. His grandfather got drafted to the Pistons. Like, this is in his blood now. The Detroit Pistons is where the Ivey family belongs, and Jaden Ivey is going to be a remarkable player.
So Jaden Ivey's got a nickname. Do you know what his nickname is?
No, what is it?
Poison Ivy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's had that for a while, so
that's pretty fun.
Get that. I mean, it's cool. Like you said, I think he's had a lot of amazing perspective. A lot of women idols. So I find it's really fitting too that with a female villain in Poison Ivy and embodying that as well too. It just really I think capitulates all. A lot of who this guy is. And I agree with you. I think behind Banchero, I think he is the second, potentially could be the best player in the draft. I think we're going to look at Jaden Ivey 10 years down the road, and we're going to be shaking our heads at the Sacramento Kings, even at the Houston Rockets. I'm going to even say it now, even at Oklahoma City Thunder, that they did not draft this guy, because he is going to be a super duper star. I get that vibe from Jaden Ivey that this guy is going to be special. He's going to be like playing like Ja Morant. He's going to be all over the place. I think you're right. He can figure the shooting out. And the nuttiest thing is, man, like him with Cade Cunningham, who doesn't mind playing off ball, who's a great facilitator, that backcourt, 1-2. When they figure that shit out, man.
Well, I think they're going to. I think the minute that Jaden Ivey steps in, they're going to have figured it out. And we're not even at the 13th pick yet, but they added Jalen Duren as well. So they've got a really great center coming along as well. Yeah, no, it's good. Any final thoughts of Jaden
Ivey? Just incredible, and I think Detroit is gonna. I just hate that they're in the East. I think the East just got better. They're a legit team. Them and the Cavs, they're going to be coming up. You got Charlotte. Like, it's just scary, man. Like, it's going to be harder and harder for our teams, I think, as we move forward in the future, which does not make me feel good.
This next team who picked 6, the Indiana Pacers, I think are the team whose roster has been made so much better.
Yeah.
So they have Tyrese Halliburton. They traded for that cornerstone, getting rid of Sabonis. That had to happen. They drafted Benedict Mathurin out of Arizona. Montreal
guy.
Product. This guy is really good.
Speaks 3 languages.
Really good. I don't think they anticipated him going 6th, but I think Indiana knew that they had to take him 6th.
I think, as soon as he was available. I mean, they picked him over Shaedon Sharpe, who was projected to be probably going in this slot, right? So he is like, I don't know. I like how people, they say in basketball or whatnot, like they'll tell certain players are like, they'll refer to them as like dogs or something. It's just like they got a lot of fight. Like they got fight and they have a high motor. And the combination of the two means is that this is a person that is in your face constantly, deflecting balls. You're looking at like a Marcus Smart type. You're looking at a Kyle Lowry type. Just a nuisance of a player. And I love this guy, man. Like, I remember watching those like Arizona games. I missed the first game, but kind of saw some of the other ones there. And every time you watch Benedict Mathurin with the ball in his hands, it was just exciting. It was just, like, there's an intensity about him. Kind of, it's like Russell Westbrook, you know. It's just there's such a fight, and he gives such a shit, and he seems so locked in the whole game from start to finish that I think he's going to add like a great level of chemistry to the team that you have on the Pacers already. Amazing opportunity to be coming in and get coached by Rick Carlisle.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, you got so much experience and perspective. Like, you know, he could like learn some skill sets and get some identity that maybe Jason Kidd had back in the day too. Like, I mean, this guy, if he could be a better, I think, facilitator and moving of the ball, he will be such a
well, and he doesn't necessarily need to be a shot creator as much because you've got Tyrese Halliburton, you've got Chris Duarte, who was very, very successful last year.
Forgot about that guy.
And not only, we haven't even gotten to the second round, but the first pick in the second round went to the Pacers, and it was Andrew Nembhard out of Gonzaga, was their point guard.
Yeah.
This is the guy that the Toronto Raptors wanted. And the Toronto Raptors had said he had a perfect workout. Like, his workout was insane. You know the other fun thing about Andrew Nembhard? Similar to Benedict Mathurin?
What?
Also a Canadian.
There you go.
So the Pacers have double upped on their Canadian content. The draft was fantastic. We went back to back. So the Pacers selected 6th, took Mathurin out of Montreal. 7th, the Blazers took Shaedon Sharpe out of, I think, Ontario.
London, Ontario.
Second round, first picks, Pacers Magic, Andrew Nembhard out of Ontario as well, and then Caleb Houston, also out of Ontario.
That's amazing.
It's fantastic.
That's so
for
amazing.
Canadian basketball. So Shaedon Sharpe, this is, I think he's now quoted as saying, "This is my new nickname. I am the man of mystery." Nobody knows how good this guy is quite yet because we haven't really seen a full year of basketball. But every scout that has talked about this guy has said that in watching, because he was with, Kentucky? In watching Kentucky's practices, they were more excited watching Shaedon Sharpe work out on his own
than the team
itself. Yeah. And this is Kentucky. This is the Wildcats.
Yep.
So Shaedon Sharpe clearly has something. We just haven't quite seen it in full capacity on the court. But the Blazers, again, this is
huge
high risk, high reward, though.
Huge
right?
risk.
This could be a really, really valuable piece for Dame, who desperately does not want to be in a rebuild situation.
But yes, let's call it for what it is. This is a rebuild situation. I just can't believe that. Like, Nurkic is going to be gone this summer. Once Nurkic is gone, you're looking around and you're like, "Where's my team?" Like, your team's not there anymore. This is a rebuild.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm excited for Shaedon Sharpe. I'm excited for the.
Yeah, I mean the Blazers. Like, when you look at everybody that was available, this is exactly like you said, high risk, high reward. You had to take this pick. This could be a massive flop. The one thing that always makes me really weary is when you haven't played games. I feel that's where you get the best experience is when you're on the court in the middle of the chaos and you're having to figure things out on the fly, the decision making, the experience. When you can do things great individually, but then when you put yourself into the experience. So I think Portland's going to be a good situation for him, and he's going to get good leadership and great advice. But he's got it. Like, this is the thing. You're saying Blazers, are we a rebuild? Like, if you want Shaedon Sharpe to be successful, he has to play lots of games coming into next year, or this guy is 100% going to be a flop just because he doesn't have the reps.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they got Jeremy Grant.
Oh, they got Jeremy Grant too. That's right.
So he's not a game changer by any means. No, but he helps. I think that also covers the problem with Nurkic, right? If Nurkic goes, they've got Grant.
You're right.
So we'll see how the Blazers. Let's move on to the Pelicans. Yeah. So they took Dyson Daniels.
DD.
This is the 3rd pick now out of the G League Ignite team.
Yep. This guy's from Australia.
He was very good. In watching some of his pre-draft workouts, he's a 6'7" guard.
He has a twin brother, I think, too.
Something really – I think I think New Orleans, we've talked a lot about how the Pacers and Detroit, OKC have really improved their clubs, but New Orleans, if you don't let's remember this was the Lakers pick. And this was a team that was in the playoffs, the New Orleans Pelicans. They have a very, successful veteran guard with CJ and JV.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then they've got their all-star Brandon Ingram,
who went up another level,
especially in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then you've got the man who steals balls.
What's that? What? I keep forgetting that player's name.
Alvarado.
There's Alvarado, but the other guy too that they got,
Herb Jones.
Drafted
last year.
That's right, and he's so good.
So good. So they took Dyson Daniels, and I think that this is. I mean, Perk talked about this so much during the draft. The most valuable player to have in a draft, not even in a draft, but in the league today, is a stretch wing. These are the players that make the team successful.
Andrew Wiggins, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown.
So there's one guy we are not talking about yet. And if he turns things around, he was a number 1 overall draft pick a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
If he comes back with a force,
oh my God,
they've got Dyson Daniels.
Yeah, a willing defender,
buddy,
willing defender right there too, right? So
it's huge.
You have a stronger defensive identity. This team had a lot of fight, and the other thing we haven't said too that is I think my favorite thing about this Pelicans team. It has my favorite coach. Well, Ime Udoka has definitely become my favorite coach, but right behind him, Willie Green. I think if I wanted somebody in my corner to encourage me and motivate me every day, there's no better person than him. He is so there. Amazing. Yeah, man. I think the Pelicans got to be.
I'm excited for this Pelicans team, and I think that this upgrade happened much quicker than they thought after getting rid of AD.
God, they're better than the Lakers, man. I'm saying it now. That I would way rather have this Pelicans team over the next 5 to 10 years than the Lakers any day.
Boom. You heard it here first.
Heard it here, man.
Okay, number 9.
Spurs.
The Spurs took Jeremy Sohan.
Guy from Europe.
Yeah, he's out of Poland, I think.
Well, yeah, he played in the Polish league. I think he grew up in London.
Okay.
But yeah, I think his mother's from Poland.
6'9", 230, forward. This guy's notably known for having funky hair colors, much to the likes of Dennis Rodman. It's those kinds of personalities that are always fun in the NBA, especially coming up with this younger generation. But this guy can ball. He's a very, very good basketball player. I think, again, we talk about these wings, and this is one that the Spurs don't really have a lot of that going for them.
No.
So
they got a pretty small team.
Yeah, and it's going to take a little while. I wonder how many more years Pop has to make this thing work, but
does he retire next year?
Well, in the meantime, they've, DeJounte Murray's taken over. Sohan Vassell, Lonnie Walker.
Oh, man, they got some good players.
There's definitely some good young stuff. Josh Primo was their first last year. Trey Jones, Keldon Johnson.
They need a couple definitive pieces. Like a Cade and Jaden Ivey or like a Brandon Ingram type. They need
It'll take a bit.
Yeah.
It'll take a bit.
They're a couple drafts, a couple trades away from.
They might be a couple free agent picks out of being successful too. And maybe it just needs some veteran stuff in there to really push those younger guys along.
And I love, again, you're getting the Spurs, out of all the picks that were left there, they dove on a European player because that's one of the biggest skill sets.
Yeah. Well, and they had 3 in the first. They had 3 in the first round. They took the Raptors pick, Blake Wesley out of Notre Dame, 25th. They had Malachi Branham, 20th. So they're replenishing for sure, and having those young assets.
You know who isn't replenishing?
The next pick.
Yeah.
I
mean, I should just say this is a caveat. They're doing a little bit better than the pick after them. I watched a Stephen A video recently that just made my heart sing, seeing him in such misery. But
he said he would never go to the
yeah. But the Wizards,
So Washington picks 10th. They take Johnny Davis. I know nothing about this guy. But he's a guard. He's a 6'5" guard.
Yep.
I mean, I guess this may be
Nice suit.
He's a confident 3-point shooter. This might be the guy that replaces Bradley Beal in years to come.
Yeah.
But
I just don't know what you're doing if you're the Wizards. Like you're at an impasse.
Well, I feel like they're gonna make a splash in free agency because they have to. They have to do something. Yeah. Well, yeah, they got a lot of used parts, don't they? Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
Hachimura had
Porzingis.
some flashes.
I like Hachimura.
Ish Smith.
Yep.
Denny Advajay was their pick last year. Porzingis, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Beal's got a player option this year. He'll likely pick it up.
100%.
So KCP. This is a struggling ball team.
Yeah.
This is a struggling ball team that we projected to be very successful last year as they were sitting in first for all of a hot second. But I think they'll be in the lottery next year.
I think so too.
Okay, so now we're at the New York Knicks, who had 11th pick. This was huge. This was going to be a really great prospect for them.
And they traded it to Casey.
So they traded it.
No picks for the Knicks.
So they traded it. They took Ousmane Dieng, who you said during the draft was a guy that we need to remember.
Mm-hmm. Remember this name, Ousmane Dieng.
He's out of France. He played in New Zealand.
Yep.
This guy's been around the world.
The dude is 6'10". He's been growing a lot, which reminds me a bit of one Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Oh, he's that kind of player.
And how, if he has that kind of growth spurt. And the thing I love about him is, like I said, I mean, he's got incredible physicality. He has incredible frame. He's going to fill out and I think be a very strong player. Very, very strong player. He's springy, really good aggressive plays and drives to the hoop. I think he's just one of those guys, kind of like Giannis, that could be like a mess in the paint. And he shoots threes. And there hasn't been a lot on this guy, but I just took note of him. Again, this was a lot of like hearsay that I was hearing, but it was from various different perspectives on the Ringer, on a couple other different, like sports net sites of just different people writing articles in the last few weeks that were upping the stock of this guy. And, doing a little bit of digging into him, I like where the indicators are pointing for him that he could be,
And so this was big. OKC really wanted this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny though, because
Mm-hmm.
OKC had the next pick and clearly they just felt like this guy was going to go. Or maybe they had pressure around other teams sniffing around for this player.
That it was going to get picked early. So in one of those two, picks.
So, yeah. So Sam Presti's, the wizard that he is, has
he put a spell on the Knicks.
Or he's got like 18 picks in the next 3-4 years. So He was like, oh, yeah, we want this guy. You want some of our first round picks?
Yeah.
So he gave them 3?
I think so. And then like some of them are like in 2025 or later down the road.
So it replenishes their stock. But knowing the Knicks, they'll likely flip them all for something unsuccessful.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they'll get like Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving on their team and be like, we're going to be the Celtics 2.0. With that matchup, that'd be gross.
But they got rid of Kemba. And that's in a trade, I think, a little later down here.
With Jalen Duren one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they also took one of the best. They also took one of the best centers and flipped him as well, getting out from underneath the Kemba debacle, the return to his hometown.
Poor guy.
His massive
I feel
contract.
bad. I feel bad for him.
Yeah, it sucks. It does. But hey, 12th OKC picks again.
Yep.
And they take the first Jalen Williams. Because later on they take another
Jalen Williams
man named Jalen Williams. It's going to be confusing.
Yeah.
Especially in the same draft year. Hey, what's your name? Jalen Williams.
What if your
name? Jalen Williams. What year were you drafted? 2022. Oh, me too.
What if they both come in and be like, we want the same number 2?
What if they look the same? I don't even know
if
what
they are
the
the same player.
Yeah. At first I thought it was a clerical error, but they're spelled different. The Jalen is spelled differently.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
They'll have to do one maybe just says Williams on the back, and another one says like Jay Williams or something.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I don't know how you figure that out.
Maybe, yeah.
Or are they both disabled names with different
one's
numbers?
0 and one's 00.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so yeah, good pick. I mean, again, like I said at the beginning, OKC, this is, they don't have to strike on any of these guys, but they've got the young prospects.
They have
to
all the
try
projects in the world.
Yeah, so why not go for it? Charlotte.
So that's just part. Yeah, they drafted Jalen Duran, the big center. They traded him to Detroit, and that was part of the piece that moved to have Kemba go to Detroit as well. And I heard that they're just going to waive his contract.
They'll buy him out.
Yeah, buy him out.
Yeah, they got the money for that.
So Duran, who's going to be great lob threat guy with Jaden Ivey.
I know. I know. It's a big 3 already, and they're like rookie sophomore.
Fuck me, man.
Well, it's gonna be fun. The All-Star game, the rookie sophomore games.
Yeah,
it's gonna be loaded with OKC, Houston, and Detroit players,
and the Pacers
players. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
And maybe some of the Orlando guys. Mark, there. Yeah.
Chicago takes Ochai Agbaji.
Agbaji, I think.
6'6" forward out of Kansas. Kansas, known for their successful players.
They won this year.
Another swingman.
Yeah, and he shoots.
And remember, this team, Cleveland, I mean, they're ready to go. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Garland, Kevin Love, who this Agbaji guy can supplement. This is great. This is great for Cleveland to have a 14th pick here.
Well, and even if this guy becomes just maybe a good role player at the end of the day, I think you have all of those ancillary pieces that this was a good option that complements the team well and is going to elevate everybody to a certain level that if you have to make movements or tweaks down the road to get yourself over the hump into very serious playoff contention, then I'm sure you can do that with assets that you have. So it's a fair pick, and I'm glad that I think you always kind of, I don't know, I hear this all the time in the draft, never, you should go for the best player, never necessarily draft just for need specifically that you have in the present moment, because it's just ever changing, and I don't know, that's how I definitely felt how this one went. But
all right, 15 Charlotte picks again. Well, end here at 15, and then maybe just whatever other particular ones you want to note on. Yeah, so Charlotte takes Mark Williams, 7'2" center out of Duke. This guy is a high
with
flying.
A 9'9" standing reach.
Are you serious?
Yeah. His standing reach, so when he's standing there, his arms are full up, are 9'9". The basketball rim's about 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he just needs to move up 2 inches.
He needs to go up on his tippy toes
to dunk it.
This guy is going to be flying out there. And remember, Charlotte, they already are flying with Miles Bridges and LaMelo Ball. So LaMelo Ball, the lob master, I mean, this is going to be fun.
Whatever you can get with Gordon Hayward, too, you're going to be a very good team.
This is going to be fun. I'm really excited for Charlotte moving forward here. And I'm sure Michael Jordan is thrilled.
So happy for MJ. Yeah.
Okay.
He just looked at me, he's like, wait, what was the standing wingspan? 9'9". They were drafting you.
Yeah, we want him.
Okay, so some
notables now. So that was the top 15.
Yep.
We're not going to run through the rest of the first round.
We'd be here all day.
The notable ones here for me is actually the next pick, 16th, AJ Griffin. This is Adrian Griffin's son. Adrian Griffin being the Toronto Raptors assistant coach.
Yep.
AJ Griffin is, I think, one of the best shooters in this draft class. And he's gone to Atlanta.
Ooh, that's very good.
This is going to be a very good player for Atlanta to have. And another wing, he's 6'6". He's a guard. He can really get around on the defensive end.
All you need is just him and DeAndre Hunter. You have your wings, and they complement each other because Hunter's more of a defensive-minded guy. This guy's more of an offensive-minded guy.
Yeah, I like it. I like this AJ Griffin kid. I think they did a really good job.
You got Bogdanovich on that team too. Jeez.
Well, and he fell out. I think Griffin was supposed to be a bit higher here.
Yeah.
But hey, yeah. So who else stood out to you in the rest of this first round here?
Well, just quickly, in a parallel universe, Nikola Jovic, not Nikola Jokic.
the
Went to Miami.
soon to be
Denver could have drafted him.
Coulda, but Denver took Christian Braun instead. So I don't know anything about him.
Is Jokic also from Serbia?
Yeah,
Wow.
I think they're from the same hometown.
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Must be a popular name during that era, Nikola.
Yeah, and Jokic.
That's so crazy. So yeah, that was nuts.
Okay,
so talk about the Raptors.
Yeah, let's start it off because this wasn't a first round pick, but it might as well have been because this is the only pick in the draft for the Raptors. They picked 33rd overall, and I'm not entirely sure how they swung this or how they got this pick. I think it was from Houston, maybe. I'm not too sure, but they ended up picking 7-foot center Christian Koloko out of Arizona.
Was he from Cameroon?
He's from Cameroon, bud. And watching him in interviews, you're like, he sounds exactly like Siakam. He's got the same dialect, and
you know who's probably watched him for a long time.
They don't know each other.
Oh well, not Siak.
You're talking Masai. Absolutely. The Raptors have been
on this guy,
following this guy for obviously coming out of the Basketball Without Borders.
And just like the Spurs pick incredible players out of Europe. I mean, they have such an eye for players from Africa. Like, just such a perspective.
The nice thing about Koloko is his athleticism. He's already kind of filled out. He's a strong guy, but his athleticism as a 7-foot guy, he can switch on guards. He can switch off ball. It's a defensive mind first. I think he's really, he's a rim protector. We don't have this. We need
a center.
We don't have anybody taller than 6'9", 6'10".
Yeah, you got a 7-foot guy.
The Toronto Raptors have a mandate where you have to be this tall to ride, and that this tall, unless your name is not Fred VanVleet, is
or Malachi
set at 6'7". No, I think Malachi's not going to be able to ride next year.
Yeah, you're right. He's off the ride.
If his shoulders aren't broad and he's not 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", he can't ride the ride. Christian Koloko.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what about oh darn it! What's his name? Oh gosh, we got him from Portland with the Norman Powell trade.
Oh, Trent Jr.
Well,
Trent Jr. is able to ride the ride because he learned how to play defense.
Yeah,
and he's one of the best defenders in the league now.
And he hits a lot of threes.
Lots of threes, and we don't have that.
I love him.
That's the
so good.
only focus now moving forward for the Raptors because they got their ring protected. This is going to be a really great replacement for Chris Boucher, who's going to walk in free agency. I think
100%.
He's not going to be able to hit the threes that Bonjour could, but I'm thrilled. It's going to be a bit of a project, but I think they have the time to be able to really fit him in. He's going to play a lot of 905 minutes. No, this is a good pick. I like this pick a lot.
This is great, man. I do
think that they had their eyes on the two Canadians that went above them, Andrew Nembhard and Caleb Houston, but they did not. I mean, he's the tallest pick in the second round, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh, he was probably the best.
7-1 second.
He was probably the best available one that they had.
Absolutely. I want to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers second round pick. Do you know who they took?
No. Who they took? Oh,
Isaiah Mobley.
Oh,
Christian. They took Evan's older brother.
Really?
That's how much they care about Evan Mobley and this franchise.
Wow.
This is a bit of a throwaway pick.
Very smart move. Very smart move.
But out of USC, they took Isaiah Mobley.
That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome. Sick?
Yeah, that's really, really good.
Yeah. It was pretty thrilled to see that pick. There was a lot of talk about Jaden Hardy. He's going to be a really good player out of the G League as well.
Yep, I've heard about him.
He went to Dallas.
That's
the Kings took him.
Good for Dallas.
Chose not to keep him.
The Kings.
But we're not surprised.
Yeah, no.
Kings.
Yeah. So, look, the Knicks got Trevor Keels with 42nd pick.
They did. They did get one guy.
Give the Knicks a round of applause.
Out of the sec.
Yeah, and then I was looking at this a little bit. The Celtics with the 53rd pick got J.D. Davison out of Alabama, a guard. I think he was a senior coming out of it. It's been there a while. Crazy hair.
Whoa,
Dude's got very good hair. This is what I liked about him. Unselfish passer. I did see that, yeah. So nice, I think, he'll be a good guy, can run the floor. He can hit some shots. He's going to be a project for sure.
Yeah.
Big time project, but That's something, I'm sure the Celtics are going to reflect on with the lack of having a true point guard, and some of the decisions they want to make moving forward. So, but
okay, dude. Well, another draft come and gone.
Another draft.
This was a good one. I'm excited to see. There are definitely some significant roster upgrades for some teams.
What's the next big trade that we're going to see here in the next couple of weeks?
Well, I think we're going to start to see
the next big ripple.
I don't know about the next one, but I think Kyrie or KD are going to be the next big splash here to have happen.
Brooklyn, a lot of attention eyes on Brooklyn.
This sucks for Brooklyn. They did it to themselves, and they've been doing it to themselves ever since they got Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. Like it's in the New York air. They want the big thing. I mean, LA's in this situation right now. They're doing it to themselves, and I don't have a lot of sympathy for it, but it does suck. Like it's unfortunate that these players can't figure it out and persevere. And when you look at the teams that really have had success, winning franchises, they've built together. They haven't just come in and done it and then moved and then gone, right? Look at the dynasty that Golden State is.
Yep.
They drafted all of those players.
The Raptors did that too. I mean, besides Kawhi Leonard, who came in, the rest of those players.
Drafted or traded early.
And you brought them up over a number of years. The Celtics this year.
That's right.
Phoenix.
That's right. So maybe Kyrie or maybe KD is the Kawhi that can really push a team over the top, but Brooklyn needs to figure out how to build. And I mean,
you know who I feel most bad for?
Steve Nash.
Actually, you're right. Genuinely, I feel most bad for Steve Nash. I really do. That's the one I feel terrible for, and I deserve nothing. I want nothing but the best for him. He deserves nothing but the best. I guess, the joke. I was more of a joke, but I mean, it's also kind of because it's like, man, it's going to be a rough journey moving forward for him. But Ben Simmons, because I thought we just need to bring Ben Simmons in this podcast.
Whoa! Ding, ding, ding! Ben Simmons.
We hit the button. We should have that in confetti.
Yeah, I mean,
that's kind of like.
But again, did it to himself.
I know.
Asked out.
He was so hyped to go to Brooklyn, and now everyone's going to be gone.
Yeah. Oh boy. Maybe he'll move.
I would be elated if I had future Brooklyn picks here in the next couple of years because I feel like they might just fall off a cliff.
Well, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Lakers. Everybody who has a Lakers pick's pretty stoked.
OKC.
New Orleans did really well. Yeah. OKC. Yeah. What about you? Who do you think is going to be the next big splash?
Yeah, no, I could see Kyrie being a big one. What would be another team? Okay, you picked a team out of the East. I'll pick a team out of the West. I see out of the West.
What are the Lakers going to do?
I don't know. I mean, it's obviously Russell Westbrook and maybe Kyrie's involved in that. I think I could see the Clippers. We didn't really touch about them, and they weren't very much present in the draft. But if Kawhi and Paul George come back healthy, and we're talking about these wings that play a very centrifugal role in getting you deep in the playoffs, I can't think of no other better team than the Clippers where they're situated. I think they have a real opportunity next season
if
everybody comes
healthy.
back. Yeah, they could be very scary. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe they need to make a push or some moves to solidify it. But it's pretty minor tweaking. But if I was the Clippers, I'd rather want to jump on it early than late, and then you have less pickings available. So I don't know. You see these players like Jeremy Grant or Christian Wood move. I could see, players on some of these teams moving like that. Maybe Buddy Hield moves again. Yeah, I just keep an eye out for Paulo and, I don't know, Jaden Ivey. Don't forget that name.
Jaden Ivey. He's going to have a great season next year. I'm really excited to watch him. And Mathurin, man.
Detroit will be immediately better. Pacers will be immediately better.
That's going to be fun. All right, well, that was this year's NBA draft recap. We will come back at you next week with another episode. We will be gearing up everything free agency as the free agency period, I think, opens, as always, June 30th.
Yeah, I think so.
June 30th, July 1st, somewhere around there. We're going to see lots of movement happening. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to the Backyard Basketball Podcast, presented by the Ordinary Podcasting Network. Christian.
Liquid smoke.
Catch you next week.
Later.